Hey guys, Zoid Bergenstein here, covering the best non-broadcasted matches of this WGLNA season. Today we're looking at a match between the Cunninghams and Hammertime in Round 1 of WGLNA Season 4 Gold League. This match took place on Tuesday, December 9th, so if you want to go back and grab these replays or look at the results ahead of time, feel free to check that out on the WGLNA website. Last round we saw Hammertime pick up a much-needed win on offense. Coming into that round they were down 3-1, so all the Cunninghams had to do was win both their defensive sides of the map, which is the easier side in this format, and they could have won out and ended this match. Instead, Hammertime brings it back to 3-2, so they will get into their defense and have a chance to hold out. Now let's take a look at team lineups. We see that the Cunninghams on defense have dropped their T32 and are instead running 5 RU-251s, along with their 2 Bulldogs at Tier 7. And this is really a very interesting strategy. They've got some massive potential to gank an exposed tank early, but with no heavy tanks at all, they really have no ability to bounce shells. Almost every shot that hits is going to penetrate and do damage on these tanks, so they're going to have to play a very smart game. If they can execute correctly, they definitely have a shot at winning this, but it's a very different defensive strategy than I've seen on this map. Hammertime has actually made a very similar decision. Instead of running their Pershing, which is similar to a T-32, slightly faster, slightly less defense, they've opted to drop that and are running another RU-251 as well. That gives them a lineup of 2 1390s, 3 RU-251s, and 2 Bulldogs. So very similar team comps here. The only real difference, Hammertime running the 2 1390s, which again are auto-loading tanks that have 6 shells and then a very long reload, and 3 RU-251s, which are not auto-loaders but have a very low reload time and can dish out a lot of damage. So with both these comps, don't expect the camp off that you saw in 742 where T-32s would sit on one side of the map and try and get some early damage, and we'd see a last second push. Expect some early and explosive action. A team is going to try and find a weakness in the other team, they're going to try and exploit that and hope to outplay them. We're late enough in the map that we can start to see what teams are trying to do. Hammertime has taken the west side of the map with almost every single one of their tanks there in that 2 line. You see there's one nearly bordering into the 3. The Cunninghams, on the other hand, have put a lot of tanks up on the hill on that 0 line and are going to start looking for spots on the other team, trying to get some early damage in. Keep in mind, these are not hold-down tanks, so while you might play a T-32 in the Bulls along that E line like you've seen in some of the 742 matches, and even some of these new 754 matches, these are light tanks. They're relying on the fact that they will not be spotted out there, instead of the fact that they can bounce shells and try and get some hits. That means that the first tank to get spotted is going to have a lot of shots put out their way, and if any of those land, especially if any of those track, that can very heavily influence the outcome of this battle. We are actually seeing Hammertime start to make a push. I haven't seen those tanks yet, but I'm guessing they're about to put a Bulldog on cap. They're going to move the rest of their tanks into position to try and punish anybody going for that reset. The longer they can keep that tank C4 on the cap, the farther other tanks are going to have to push, the more aggressive the defense is going to have to be to get those resets. The more aggressive they have to be, the more damage that the offense is going to be able to get out as they push in. And it does actually look like that's an RU-251 on cap, which is an interesting choice. They may choose to be more aggressive with those Bulldogs, really trying to punish tanks as they come across. We see that Cunninghams are moving tanks across, and they have successfully moved over onto the west side of the map. So instead of an east-west encounter, this may end up being a north-south, which is not something we've seen often in WGLNA. The Cunninghams have chosen to leave a tank up north, which is smart. He's going to be able to drive in behind, continue to get shots out on the enemy team who's playing over there in the DE area, and if Liebstad turns his gun and they really need a reset, he's going to be able to cross the tracks, get in behind him, and take a couple shots on him, possibly uncontested. They do have Big Cheese playing in the back A1 area who may be able to get shots on that northern tank, but we'll see. And we do actually have an engagement starting here, but Guck is able to cross over into that depression with the Bulldog, almost unscathed, taking shots from the Bulldog, but in that RU-251, he's going to be able to win that 1v1 very easily. Should be able to take that Bulldog out right now, and that's going to be a fairly significant advantage for the Cunninghams. Anytime you're able to completely eliminate a gun, even if you take some damage in return, that is a significant advantage. We now see that Hammertime is moving south. They're going to try and cross this berm, but so many guns are ready to put damage into them, I don't think this is going to work. We see shots going out into Baguk almost dead, but we have 3 tanks on the Hammertime who are almost dead. 2 to 3 shots for most of them. They continue pushing into the berm. Again, I am not controlling this camera, so I'm sorry we're missing the action. We hear shots going out left and right. We're going to have to take a look at who dies. A 3rd tank goes down on Hammertime, and this is really looking good for the Cunninghams. A tank coming across across, photo finish, tries moving, our camera finally does move. We see Drynets go down. We have a significant advantage down here in the south. 2 tanks left for Hammertime, 1 tank left, but 2 tanks coming to reinforce Germ. Germ gets a huge ram damage on that RU-251. Other tank has 2 hit points left. He has 78. If he fires first, he should get a kill. He does, and now we have a 3 versus 1 on that 1390, who is probably clipping. The RUs are chasing him down. Again, RUs are not autoloaders, so that 1390 is going to have to run away with the RUs doing consistent fire. The Bulldog also has shots. There's just no chance for this 1390 to escape. He does get tracked, and now he goes down, and that's going to do the round. Solid defensive play and strategy, in my opinion, is what gave the Cunninghams the win in this round. Even though Hammertime had an early advantage putting the tank on cap, and we initially thought that the Cunninghams would have to push and take a lot of damage to get that reset, the Cunninghams were able to shift around south, setting up that north-south engagement, taking early advantage, getting the kill on that Bulldog, which ultimately forced Hammertime into that unsuccessful push we saw trying to get their advantage back. Had that not happened, Hammertime may have been able to pepper the Cunninghams just like they did in round 1, picking up a second win on offense. This win for the Cunninghams on defense was big. It gives them a convincing 4-2 lead, but they're still going to have to come out and pick up at least 1 win on offense on Prokhorovka. If they can't, we're going to move to tiebreaker, and Hammertime will have a chance to take this back. Thank you guys for watching. That will do it for today. Don't forget, if there are any matches that you want shoutcast to, be sure to let me know on Twitter. That's @ElevateZoid. Just give me an say that you want to see something casted, and I will get that up as fast as possible. If you enjoy these, continue to subscribe to YouTube, like them, tell your friends about them. Really appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you in tomorrow's next cast as we look at this 4-2 matchup between the Cunninghams and Hammertime. Thank you guys, and take care.